we are live. Okay. Hey everyone. Hello. Hey Heidi. How are you doing? Hope everything is good.
Hi, Andre.
Right?
Great to
Good.
be here.
So, good. And we are here today for our for the another webinar in our AI series. We're going to talk today about how AI is transforming healthcare from practical to potential. And today we have Heidi Hedendorf. Hopefully, I pronounced properly, as usually. So, Heidi, you're here with us to talk about all of those new possibilities of AI in healthcare and do the overview. And we're all very much excited about it. So I see people are already joining, and we have people are connecting, and I will give you a little bit of time. And while you guys connecting, please let us know. Please do use a chat as much as you can. This communication actually during the webinar, it's very important. I know many of the people are hesitant for whatever reason, I don't know, to ask questions and to tell their stories, but it actually helps a lot to create a nice and good dialogue. So all of you will be able to benefit from the communication if you just open up, if you throw in your questions into the chat. So I encourage you to write to us, to put your thoughts and questions into the chat so that we can address all of them. Or just let us know where you're from. It would be also great to know the geography of our audience. So to talk a little bit more about the webinar, this webinar is mostly going to be helpful for the health tech, for the companies who have health tech products. Of course, and mostly the startups. This is who we work the most, and this is going to be quite an interesting overview about what you can, how you can apply in healthcare, how you can apply AI in healthcare. So this webinar is being recorded, and for everyone who has registered, you will be able to get a recording tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, as soon as we process it, and we'll be able to watch it again if you missed anything. So I see people are already coming in and sending us messages. Yes, keep going. We have New York City and Malaysia. Very nice geography, quite interesting. So okay, that's enough for waiting for people to join. I think we can start rolling. Just to briefly introduce myself, I am Andrei Kasyanov. I am CEO of Glorium Technologies, and at Glorium Technologies we work with health tech companies to help them develop and deliver their health tech solutions, digital products, and run their digital transformations in healthcare area. And we're getting asked a lot by our clients about what new features can be implemented, what can be thrown in the digital products, how they can get a better traction on the market. And of course, recently it's already been about a year how AI has been a very hot topic. So we don't know a lot. We know a lot, but we don't know everything about AI, especially in healthcare and all of these applications. And that's why we're running this series of webinars. Every webinar, we're inviting a new speaker who has a lot to share, who has extensive experience in this industry and experience, directly from the trenches about how to apply AI in different use cases in healthcare. And so today is another webinar. We have Heidi with us over here, who will share her experience. And Heidi, Heidi is founder and executive marketing strategist. But better, Heidi, if you introduce yourself briefly and tell us a little bit more about what our audience will be able to learn during this webinar.
Excellent. First of all, Andre, thank you again for the opportunity. I think the value that you bring of bringing us all together to have these discussions is so powerful. So great work here, and I'm honored to be one of the guests. Yeah. So as Andre mentioned, marketing strategist. I've been working in tech. Think of it, the tech and business intersection my whole career. I've worked for large companies and then also medium-sized SaaS companies. Also working with a lot of startups. And it's always been that intersection again of business and tech. So in healthcare specifically, I've worked with large pharma companies. I've worked with CROs. Also have been working in terms of on the pharmacovigilance side, the clinical development side, regulatory medical affairs, and then also on the workflow. So automation of workflow. So whether that's intelligent automation up to AI, robotic process automation, it's always looking at outcomes though. How can we make things better? And most of my experience is with B2B enterprise, both large and small companies. And then, as Audrey mentioned, I'm doing this now, being able to help companies of all sizes from strategy and also from a transformation perspective. So what I'll be covering today, I know there's a lot of hype out there about AI, and it is exciting. Let's be honest, right? Of course, but also
Oh,
we look at practical use cases, right? Like what's real, what's being adapted, and that's going to help inform for tomorrow what actually does take off. And I know all of you are working in that space as well. And so I'm going to cover some of the areas that I've been working closely with, some of the vantage points that I've seen, and really to facilitate a dialogue. So Andre and I will be going back and forth, really discussing some of these points, and then looking forward to an open Q&A towards the end. We're all part of this together, so none of us have all the answers, but just like large language models, we need to kind of pull together what we've got to be able to form that view. So yeah, I'm really excited about these topics.
right. Okay. So yeah, this is good. Maybe a couple of points. What do you think? What value? So to keep people here with us, what value do you think you're gonna bring to them by the end of this of today's webinar? What will they be able to learn?
Yeah,
Just a couple of
absolutely.
points.
So really appreciating that all of you are in this space. Obviously that's a passion of mine and a lot of expertise in the health tech space. I really want to help facilitate that cross industry and cross view. It's such a large space and there's so many different vantage points, but I really feel like that's what drives innovation is being able to see different vantage points, think about maybe parts you haven't been so exposed to. So that's my aim, and also to show these real use cases, what's happening today, with a view of then informing tomorrow what's possible. So that's really what I'm aiming to provide value here.
Okay, so in short, basically, we should expect to see kind of biggest drivers in AI in healthcare. Basically, what is driving it, and also, what are the biggest and the best use cases that you can show for them, and
Exactly.
in general, the overview. All right, so let's roll. Heidi, the audience is all yours.
All right. I'm
But
going to share my.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, please share your screen. While you're sharing, everyone, please throw your questions in as we go, as Heidi is flipping the slides, and we will either interrupt right away or we will answer the questions at the end of the presentation. It just, I don't know, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll just act as we go.
All
But
right. I just have.
let's be as informal as possible.
Absolutely. I just want to double check
Mhm.
you can see this. Everyone's good on that.
Yeah, looks like we have the picture.
Perfect. So a lot will be focused on the outcomes, but also the use cases, real world adoption. That's the primary aim here. And then aligning with workflows. So I'll do a double click into the workflows there. Want to talk about challenges, because I think with any innovation and transformation, it's important to look at what obstacles that we're up against. And then we'll move into a wrap up and Q&A. So again, it's really to give you that broader view of use cases, industry examples, traction. So one opening comment, though, it really doesn't matter if you're specifically in healthcare, if you're in tech, if you're life sciences, or you're some other function that's supporting one of these. I just feel what unites all of us is the better patient outcomes and better lives. I mean, in its simplest form, if you can walk your dog or help someone walk their dog on the beach, that's a great patient outcome. being able to work, being able to travel, celebrating milestones or birthdays, being with family. So I think that's something that unites all of us in terms of being able to create better. And just the possibilities that AI has is going to be facilitating this as well. And let's face it, no AI story would be complete without the numbers. And I know it depends on which specific report you're looking at. This one is from Grandview Research. But the point is, we know it's a massive market, right? We know that we're just at the start of it. It's already billions specifically for AI in healthcare. And we know it's got a strong CAGR and growth trajectory. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the numbers, but it's just more to come together on, why this is so vital. Again, the patient outcomes is critical, but also looking at the financial. This has got a lot of promise. And I feel like it impacts every job, every industry, because for two reasons. One, we're all impacted in helping develop AI in some way. And second of all, we're all patients and we all care about health, whether for ourselves, our families, in that combination. So that's why this is so critical. So let's look specifically at patient outcomes and what sort of areas are possible here. Certainly around diagnosis, right, and treatment plans. So we're already seeing that. We're already seeing that in play with helping to streamline, helping to bring about faster, better quality, and more repeatable with what AI can do and working across so much data. I think also optimizing the patient monitoring and intervention. So again, if you think of AI as pulling together different data sources, that's absolutely a core piece of it. But then there's other, I think sometimes we think a lot about AI and the software side of it, but there's absolutely opportunities on the medical device. I know in the news, NVIDIA makes the headlines more for the gaming, but actually, and I'm sure many of you are familiar, that within the healthcare space, there's huge opportunities. Being able to, with Internet of Things, being able to do that local computing and real-time processing, video, opportunities that weren't possible before, and then the insights that we can get from that video and from behaviors and being able to watch that. So that's definitely a huge area. Other drivers, though, or maybe outside of specifically the development, are rising healthcare costs and rising costs in general, right? There's really a motivator to keep costs down and to repurpose some of what's being done with very manual processes into other forms, use it for actual research and development. So that's another trigger. Personalized precision medicine is another one. So certainly that's already happening today. We see that with what physicians and what practitioners are doing, but AI has that ability to be able to do even further within that. By assimilating and synthesizing information, not only faster, but access to more information than was possible before. And all of this helps us to identify what's real and really get traction away from the hype. So that's just to kind of set the stage of patient outcomes.
Can I interrupt you for a second? And maybe, I don't know, I think maybe others have similar question. I'm looking at it, yes, patient outcomes is one of the greatest area and what we all should kind of focus on, and we should apply all possible tools in order to achieve the better outcomes. But this, I'm kind of with your slides, I see a little bit of controversy, and would be great if you could put a little bit of some of the comments. So your previous slide shows great amount of investments that will be poured into AI, mm-hmm. And as you know, and as we all see, the AI is considered as one of the big hypes. At least there is always, as you're saying, there is a hype. And there is practicality, right? So it's going to be definitely part of the money is going to go into the hype. Part of the money is going to go directly into the outcomes. But and this is like big questions, and you put it right here: rising costs in healthcare, and our need for relief. So how this additional massive investment into the AI can actually help us to reduce the total costs? What do you think else is going to be removed to compensate for all of those additional investments and expenses on the AI side?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. Looking at what the business case is and the business model of this. So some examples are the amount of manual work that's being done today, but also things that aren't even possible today. So for example, we'll go through some examples around extraction of data from technical documents. A human can only open so many at one time, can only synthesize so much data. But with AI being able to do that in seconds, what was taking days or hours, for a human to do, those are real costs, that's real time that organization could be spending elsewhere. The skill sets are shifting too, just in terms of being more strategic, doing something with the data. So we're seeing a need for less investment, let's say on so much manual work, and more investment in terms of what does this mean, the strategy, the connecting of data, and the outcomes. So that's really where the big shift happens, is speed, okay, which is savings, but also quality outputs, which is another form of savings. And then the major game changer is the insights and what you can do with that based on the analytics.
Oh, the quality is absolutely. There is no question about the quality. Quality is, of course, but so inevitably, I'm just making a conclusion from what you're saying, that we should expect a drastic change in the labor force in healthcare in the coming years. So you think that AI is going to affect the labor market in healthcare, correct?
We know that it's affecting it, and there's been, there's also a lot of hype about, well, what happens to jobs, or jobs going away. But what you'll see with most of the use cases is the need for, it's really more of a co-pilot situation. And a lot of products out there are actually called co-pilot for that reason, because it's the best of both. It's the technology alongside the human, but it's doing some of the base work so that the human person, whether it's a physician or if it's somebody in R&D, has got the information to make better decisions and to be part of that. And that's affecting at every level. So if it's somebody collecting data, if it's a writer, it's really going to be alongside of the person. And that's the big shift in terms of labor.
Okay.
So
that's probably, yeah, over here is probably also reduction of the number of the mistakes, misdiagnosis, and all of those problems, that they will also help to reduce the overall costs.
That will certainly, because if you think about that cost, there's also examples we'll come across just on the payer side versus like streamlining the workflow so that people are getting their claims paid sooner, but also this helps predictability, in terms of payments. So there's all kinds of savings on every single aspect, and it is a shift. I think with every major technology that comes out, there's predictions about certain types of roles going away, but always it's created more. It's created more jobs. Some of it's a shift. Some of it's a shift within a role. Some of it's a shift to new types of roles. There's going to be job titles we haven't even thought of in the next 3 to 5 years because of the major game-changing technology that we're seeing today.
Yep, that's actually, yeah. So let's roll.
Okay, perfect. No, this is good. I mean, I think that's such a fundamental part of it. So let's look at a couple of use cases. We're going to go through some specifics, but I put them in a few buckets because it kind of helps you think about, especially as you're thinking about your clients out there and who you're working with, some of the developments. If you think about one bucket being operations, so streamlining of workflows, simplifying tasks, assisting with the medical writing. We're seeing virtual assistants for sure already out there, but now this would be specific, let's say, to healthcare. It's digesting information that's very specific to the industry. And then, as I mentioned too, on revenue cycle, that's important for everybody, whether it's the consumer side, whether it's the payer side, insurance, medical provider. Everyone wants to see that flow smoother because, as you identified, Andre, it's just a lot of cost, and if there's issues, it takes up a lot of time too. So that's one category. Another category is around treatment, and certainly some of these fall into multiple categories. But if you think about imaging, in what can be discovered, from AI, especially with patterns and being able to compare, which humans do today. But this is another area where it's going to be a combination of the human plus the technology to really have the best of both worlds. Disease detection, clinical decision support. So really teeing up that information excuse me, for clinical. Patient interaction, that could also go with, but it's the idea on some of these medical summaries, getting patients some of the basic information. That's another trend, though, that's really changed, is the more informed patient, the connected patient that wants to understand more about their own either disease or treatment plan. And companies and organizations want to provide that information. They don't want them just doing Google searches, but they want to be able to really control that information and provide them quality as it relates to their plan. And then real world data is exciting because it's not just about a company, let's say an organization, a medical organization or a pharma company looking at their own data and what they've been able to capture, but it's also looking at, in many cases, anonymized data, but data sets that come in from records, hospitals, other forms that are actual pieces of evidence that can come in and help inform the story as well. So those are two key categories. And the third one that I'll mention here is R&D. Obviously, there's many more, but these are three pillars that I've put together in terms of thinking about this from the AI perspective. Drug discovery, we know that's a very long life cycle. There's not only for testing, but even the discovery itself, working with the molecules and just really trying to pull that together. That's a long-term play, but there's already work underway in this area. There's already companies leveraging AI to make this successful. The whole genomics and genetics area too, I feel like that's another area we're just at the forefront of, and a lot of possibility coming forward with that too. And that's like another data set, pulling that together, family history, other discoveries. It ties in with biomarkers as well. So many possibilities. I'm going to cover a use case on safety and pharmacovigilance, which is really the tracking of therapeutics, of drugs, of vaccines after they've been launched, and how AI is making a difference there. And then, of course, personalized medicine. I mentioned before on the last slide, just around being able to have that personalized approach. Anything else, Andre, you would add to this? I mean, I know there's so many use cases.
Well, there are many more can be added. I think you covered it very nicely. But I would have a question to you, for the benefit of our viewers, as they're mostly entrepreneurs, startup owners, or owners of their existing digital products in healthcare. And they're always looking for new capabilities, possibilities, I would rather say, in the market to where to grow and where to bring in, what new features to implement in new products. Can you name, like, from all of those, can you name the top three that will have, with which they will have the best shot at the market, at winning the market? Which one of those has the best opportunity to survive and grow in the coming, I don't know, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, and it really depends on the person's vantage point. Certainly all of these have the possibility, but I would say, like from the operations category, it's really that co-pilot idea. It's the idea of assistance. So thinking along the lines of like the human together with AI, so serving up data. So that type of use case, serving up data, synthesizing data, and serving it up helps the workflow. So that's one that's absolutely critical. I think when it comes to treatment, it's really about the diagnosis. So earlier diagnosis, better diagnosis, like really cracking through. There's been a lot of work done in oncology. So I think that's one area when it comes to diagnosis, that's a real game changer. And then on the R&D side, I would say some of these are longer term plays, but it's really the personalized medicine. So that's coming, and that's going to be a combination of looking at a number of these different factors. But that's going to be, one of the bigger trends is being able to have that personalized medicine. So those are just some of my views, based on some of the work and what we're seeing.
Okay. All right. Yep. Thanks.
Good. So big questions. I love it.
Who's viewing? Yeah.
No, it's good.
You're getting startup ideas from here.
No, I love it. I love it. So let's talk some of the practical use cases then too. So medical writing, but also quality management. So a lot of companies have a QMS, or quality management system. AI has already been out there. They've been already using tools to help with this. But the game changer here is the tools to enhance expedite the processes, and also leading to the compliance, okay, with quality, validity requirements. And it's not just compliance to be compliant or to pass an audit, right? I mean, the whole reason to have this is to ensure safety and to ensure good regulations. So Kate Cregan, she's the owner and CEO at 11 Compliance Consulting. She does a lot of work in this area, and especially with some of the key FDA regulations. Her comment was that AI can be an important tool to assist with the development of quality documentation and reports. It's critical, though, that you understand and truly own the content. And I think that's really well said, because AI, you know, she said too that AI is not going to be audited. It's you know, any of the organizations. But again, we're not doing it only for the audit. We're doing it to have safe practices. So thinking about how AI can truly help with quality management, but having that perspective of, at the end of the day, really owning the information, I think is what's key in owning the processes. So I really love that perspective. Looking at a couple of examples then around medical writing and quality. So you can look at things like document creation. And the reason I say drafts is because, again, we want this human oversight, especially as the large language models are being trained, and you know, as this is maturing, it's really important to have that. And the quality control, and you mentioned some of these too, Andre, about scanning for errors, looking for inconsistencies. That's one of the key plays here that AI can provide, is that looking for exceptions, looking for something that's not fitting, then routing that over to the right person, flagging it, getting that right person involved. I think in the earlier days, it was like everything was getting flagged. There was just this information overload with big data. And that's been one of the big changes over the last few years, is more of this exception and looking for errors, really normalizing some of the other data. And then augmenting skills, so freeing up from repetitive tasks. And this came up in the question you had asked about, you know, where do we see some of the big shifts? And it is, let's get some of the baseline covered and then, you know, free people up for more strategic work. Insights, trends. So again, it's like you're going to hear extraction a lot. So it's like pulling from multiple sources and then being able to form an opinion. So no longer is it just that we get some of this automation that's just doing only structured data and only repetitive, but it's serving up now insights. And that's where the analytics comes into play, you know, and that's really the power of it too. So assimilation, large volumes of data. You know, over the last few years, companies have been connecting their large enterprise platforms. They've been enhancing security, privacy, looking at cyber, but there's still silos of data, right? And so it still takes that pulling together insights from different types of enterprise applications, different sources, unstructured, handwritten. You know, so we're still in the early days, I think, you know, as enterprise on that. And then finally, validating for accuracy. So it's always about, you know, meeting these regulations, reliability. I saw the question about regulatory. As governance models mature and companies mature in terms of where they are on the maturity scale, we're going to just see that working hand in hand with regulations to enable innovation, but also just to have some guardrails. So those are some examples on the medical writing. I'm going to dive into one specific example to make it even more real. So if you think about medical research and writing and how much time that takes, right? Writing on its own, let alone technical, it's time-consuming research across various different types of research. It's been a very manual synthesis. You know, some really expert writers out there and researchers pulling together from trials, from journals, from various sources and records. But that, you know, that takes time. That has costs, even potential quality and inconsistencies in quality too, depending on different people. There's a company, Celigence, that's really active in this space, really strong, and they've been working with AI, and they've now launched a product called Captus Copilot. And again, you're going to keep seeing this term of Copilot because it's the human together with the technology. So it's enterprise cloud based. And it really utilizes within AI, it utilizes LLMs, but also the reinforcement learning from human feedback. So I love that whole learning model already built in and learning from the feedback. So you see a couple of use cases, and I'll show you two examples. One is around the automatic data extraction, summarization. I mean, think how long it takes to open various documents, let alone be aware of what to access. And then the chat is also important. certainly we're all using chat now in terms of AI, but this is very specific to diagnostic and the device industry. And so it's really been tailored to that. And then the information retrieval from the documents as well is so critical because it just it really speeds up that time. So that's what this is about is faster, which is cost savings, but more consistent quality across. And then even locating, I think that's got to be one of the biggest challenges in research is locating from different technical documents and what part of the document. So you can just see quality, cost savings, co-pilot. We're just seeing a couple of themes really starting to emerge here.
Okay. Actually, as you're on this topic or on this one or next one, actually, it doesn't matter. But I, in general, have a question that we brushed upon earlier, but I don't know. I'll try to bring it up right now to discuss. So obviously, with all of this medical writing, whoever is using those tools, they have to adopt to the new ways of doing the medical writing, right? So it's obvious that with AI, the technology is changing, and there is a lot of technology. The skills needed for the labor force, right? It is changing, and it's a broader topic, and everyone is talking about this, how the workforce skills will need to change in the upcoming years. It's not only in healthcare, it's in general, everywhere. So
Agreed.
but I want to and obviously in healthcare it's also changing. So my question, and if you want to comment on this, again, from the perspective of the startups, from the entrepreneurs, from the possibilities and opportunities in the market, do you see any differences in healthcare from in the way how the skills in the labor force will need to change? And whether yes or no, it doesn't matter. But do you see any obvious opportunities that entrepreneurs can snatch in this area in order to kind of ride the wave and have the ability to expand themselves and come up with new products, how they can sell, how they can enter or expand in the existing healthcare market based on those changes. So because obviously whenever there is a change, there is an opportunity. So this change in the labor force, in the required skills in the labor force, can you comment on it, what it might be, how is it different in healthcare, and if you see any entrepreneurial opportunity in there?
Yeah, no, well said. I think this is such an important area. And I like how you put it that it's an overall concept for AI, but then specifically within medical.
Mhm.
So if we look first at the writers, medical writers and research, some of the skills shift that we'll see are new skills that will definitely need to be honed. It really is starting to switch from being sort of this back office, opening documents, understanding, memorizing, similar to law, like just being able to be that person that knows where to go for everything, to doing something with that information. So skills like collaboration, communication, but still the synthesis, the pulling together of the information. And that's where there's a parallel to other industries where, over the last few years, it was all about getting the data. Now it's about what to do with that data. And so despite the best APIs and the best connections and, sometimes suites of platforms, there's still data silos and there's still, documentation in different places and always will be. So it's a matter of how do you pull that together? So the person that can collaborate, can communicate, has technical skills to really understand how to do that, that's invaluable. The opportunity for those of you entrepreneurs that are really looking to, well, how do I leverage that? As you're developing your solutions, think about how you can help your customers, your clients, or partners to bring that about. So, they may need training, they may need help. They could, you could help on that front, but also embedding it somehow, within the applications. Like how can you prompt? Not everyone's an expert on prompts or on how to use it. So think about the use case and what's shifting and their perspective on what they've had to do in the past, what will be required in the future. How can you make that much easier for your customers through the solutions that you're providing? Some of it is also asking that next set of questions to understand the problem statements and the new challenges. so just to be really that much more aware of what they're going through.
All right, thanks. Let's.
All right. Good stuff. Well,
Let's move on.
let me show you another angle to this. So keeping in with the Celligence example and what they've launched with Captus Copilot, here's an example on data extraction. So, you see the prompt for suggestions right here. That puts the user in control. And then it's basically putting together some suggestions. So they're able to then decide if they're going to accept, discard, if they're going to use that. And what's so unique here is, again, that this was trained and this is done within the context of a medical environment. So designed for, this exact industry. Another one is around the Copilot chat. And again, you're going to keep seeing Copilot because how important it is for the user to be that involved and to have oversight. And this is a more specific prompt than looking at, a specific type of methodology, number of words specified. So think of it as really, again, this lens with the Copilot specific for medical. So this isn't a generic horizontal solution, but very specific to this market and the power that this has with just really some game-changing technology. I'm going to turn now towards a different type of example. So I think everyone's familiar with Snowflake, has really made their mark and their name within data and analytics, went public a few years ago. But what you're seeing is this trend of horizontal technology companies now specializing because recognizing how important a practice is, let's say within life sciences and healthcare. And that's another opportunity for entrepreneurs. It's like, how do you make your solution that much more specific to the niche or to the market that you're serving and not just broad in general, right? And so larger companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Snowflake have taken it to a certain level, but there's so much room to now take this to the next level, to make it even more specific, to tailor it. So it's a really great opportunity to leverage technology in that way. So I just want to highlight a couple of examples, and this is information provided by Snowflake of where in life sciences, which is the top half, they're seeing clinical text summarization as really a key opportunity and use case. Probably not a surprise if you think about all of the documentation required for clinical trials, regulation involved with that, how much is required to get a drug through FDA or other health authority approval. So that's obviously a huge one, not only the summarization, but then assimilation and synthesizing that information into other reports. Over on the right, and you see some of the other R&D functions, over on the right is the commercial side. What's interesting on the commercial is that, and it goes back to Andre, something you said, which is this really mirrors what we're seeing on the larger AI front. So for example, content tagging, they've cited, as well as omni-channel content generation. Well, that could be said, for other teams as well, not just within healthcare, but it's very specific within healthcare, and in this case, life sciences, because it's models that were trained within this area. So the right words, the right terminology, having that right perspective, the training and the input is so critical. And then on the bottom half, you can see payers and providers. So this comes back to the point that it's so broad. But like, for example, on the payer side, it could be mining some of the clinical notes for coding gaps, portal information, right? Self-service. These are huge game changers that help both the patient as well as the provider, right? Saving time, less frustration, better experience. On the provider side, I love how, like, what we're seeing in visioning, right? Visioning plus LLM, and especially for pathology and oncology, report generation, but also virtual care, right? There's so much more with virtual care. Mental illness is one area that's really thrived from that. Just other areas where it could be geographic, it could be other motivations, even just time savings. So I wanted to share this because I just think it's really good to look at that broader use case and opportunities. Let's go more specifically then into clinical trials. So I love this area. I've spent some time on clinical development. And what's the problem to solve here, one of the problems to solve is really around accurate dosing, adherence, and the treatment response, getting that to be done more objectively. And the reason that's so important is because, by the time the drug is going through for final approval, you want to make sure, the company wants to make sure that all of the right data is there, that it's really built on a strong data set, and that participants have gone through this correctly, in increasing some of the adherence and making it a better experience for trial participants. They're really heroes going through this and taking on these studies, being part of it, so that we can all have medications that are trusted and sound. So what this company AI Cure has done, they've been working already with AI, even part of their name, but they've created a mobile app that really simplifies the clinical study. Okay, and it makes it easier for participants. Can also identify at risk. And you can see in this example, just like the simple visual of how to take the pill. And there's more complex examples. But the idea is that it's this virtual assistant that's like helping the participant to go through the trial. It's doing alerts. So a lot of things that you would see anyhow with mobile apps, but it's very specific to this market. Over 1.4 million doses have been captured with this. It also uses for ePro, eDiary. So again, like writing things down, being able to answer surveys. The digital biomarker assessments are part of it. And then even the phenotyping, like what we can learn from imaging and how that's captured on behavior. Never possible to do without AI on this type of scale and this sort of volume. So what this leads to is it's the combination of computer visioning in this case, machine learning, to look at patient behaviors, adherence, disease symptoms, response, and improve the overall experience. It's all certified. You can see the compliance. But this is another area of innovation where you might think like, oh, well, clinical trials, there's so much already done in that space, but there's so much opportunity for even more innovation and to not only accelerate, but improve quality and improve adherence rates.
Can you elaborate a little bit on this? Because quite interesting. The clinical trials itself, it's quite a big business, and it's a big market, huge one, right? So, and I don't know. Maybe I just didn't hear a lot about it, but from me personally, and I'm not saying I'm objective here, but it's just I didn't hear a lot about AI application in clinical trials. I may be mistaken, and that's why I'm asking this question. How big is actually AI there in clinical trials, and what are the biggest opportunities are there? So I would assume there are opportunities for growth in application of the AI into clinical trials. So any comments here?
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing this up. And I feel like clinical trials, has reached the world stage, during COVID. So a lot more awareness about this. Also with pharmaceuticals advertising, people are seeing a little bit more, there's more advertising around being a participant in a clinical trial. But still, to your point, I don't think a lot is known, out in the public on how it works, the various stages, how sponsors and pharma companies are able to take this through, and also the contract research organizations. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity within clinical trials. So for example, part of it is around the workforce, in providing the tools to make it a lot easier for them to be able to run a trial, getting the data a lot faster, being able to assimilate data across different trials, aggregate, anonymize, and then look for patterns and what does this mean, and be able to trust the data, but also on the recruitment side. Okay, so it takes a lot of people to run a clinical trial, and at each phase, there's more people involved. And then if you multiply that by the number of different drugs out there, and there's only a certain percent that make it to market, it's really volume. And then you want to account for things like diversity to make sure that you have the right split of people and being tried by different populations. AI is definitely an aid in that. The data management, there's so much data then coming out of the trial, being able to manage that, synthesize that, make the proper connections beyond what a human can do, but still serving it up for the clinical development team to review. And this is all on the path towards this precision and personalized medicine, so that we're getting better information and we can really tailor for it. So I see AI is really a key lever in some of the future breakthroughs, but also running the running the clinical trials, and having, again, more efficient, saving time, saving money, so that we can actually shorten the development cycles of this, but still in a very safe and regulated way.
Interesting. So there are quite an opportunity. So that's I didn't think of quite a few of what you have named, but now that I'm looking at it, it's basically same old problems, just approach them with new mentality, with new mindset, and yes, there are lots of opportunities in this market. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes the ones that get a lot of attention are around the decentralized trials, and that's part of it. And certainly that requires technology, and so that's been a great aid. But things like having a mobile app is really important because people are used to that. That's part of their everyday workflow, and so what we've seen is that it's leveraging the technology so that it can really aid these participants and that it's really part of what they're doing anyhow and technology they're comfortable with. So, that just benefits everybody. All right, I'm going to share another use case then, which this is on the opposite side. So this is once the drug or the therapeutic, could be a vaccine, is actually launched out in the market. So if you're not familiar with the term, pharmacovigilance is really it's really the safety and it's the tracking. So if there's, let's say if there's an adverse event that gets reported, something that didn't go right, or someone's having a reaction, those get reported then into the medical community, usually through doctor or means. And then if a case is actually written up and sent back to that manufacturer, there's an entire regulated process around that, around the safety tracking, and it's called case management. So Eris Global is the market leader in this space, and they've provided some information around this, and I've got some experience with this. If you think about the problem to solve, there's a growing case volume because there's more drugs on the market, and there's also more awareness. And so for various reasons, the cases have gone up. But a lot of it in the past had been a manual workflow. So the way that the data gets entered, gets pulled from various sources, it's been automated. So this process has been automated over the last several years with software and SaaS platforms. But they're up against the same challenges, right? Of rising R&D costs, regulatory changes, the complexity with that. So the opportunity is really to use AI and some of the data and analytics to help ease this, to reduce the time that it takes to process cases, but also to create better insights as to what's coming and what's being learned from these cases. So Eris Global has launched what's called LifeSphere Nava X. And like I said, they've already been working in the space of AI and analytics, but this is really that next gen, that next level. So I think of it as a gateway. It's a gateway to the future, combining and converging advanced automation, AI, and intelligent data analytics. And that's what's converging to give the better outcomes. So the technologies specifically used are the large language models, which are being trained, the generative AI, and then there's several use cases that, around like extraction and assistance that this drives. Another big part of it, though, is what's called real world data. So there's data that companies and the large pharma have within their systems and that they know of, but now the technology is able to pull from the system, it's able to pull real world data. So this could be health records, this could be anonymized other types of sources that come in that give a much broader view about what's going on. And the reason that's so critical is because you don't want to just only have one set of data. It's got to be, this larger set. And that's where AI can really provide an even better quality outcome and viewpoint to serve up for people to review. So some of the benefits, this is really significant in terms of efficiency gains. This can be up to 80% efficiency savings. Further insights are gained, accelerating R&D. So when we talked about rising costs that all of us are seeing in R&D costs too, this is directly saving time, money, and then it means that time and money can be spent and then investment on, future drugs, future therapeutics and developments, and not just on getting the data, but the automation, and also the valuable insights can actually inform strategy for what's next. So really critical area.
Yep. That's one of the areas that I didn't even think of where AI could be applied, but here it is. I forgot to mention in the beginning, but for everyone who's viewing, just as a note, I personally, or our company, Glorium Technologies, we do not have any affiliation with any of those companies. That Heidi, I'm not sure, Heidi, about you, if you have any affiliation, but in no way it's an
Yeah,
advertisement from our side. Those are purely to show the cases. So,
absolutely. I
no.
just want to qualify it too, to say the
Mhm,
idea here is to show something real. And, if you don't
mhm.
talk about specific companies, it sounds a little more theoretical. So I just wanted to show real use cases. It's really not an effort to promote, it's more to educate. So yeah, well
Yep.
said.
Mhm.
It's more about education.
Yeah.
I do
Okay. So
think
let's roll.
talking about
And
specific
hey,
companies though makes
Heidi,
it in that sense.
really quickly, the 10-minute warning.
Yep.
So we have 10
I'm
minutes
gonna
left. Maybe
This is
be
the
able to
last
overrun a
use
little bit,
case.
but let's roll.
Absolutely. This is the last use case. So around the workflow. So Automation Anywhere has been providing workflow, streamlining of workflow from a horizontal technology, but similar to Snowflake, also has a practice within healthcare and within life sciences. So thinking about generative AI as the brain, and then the intelligent automation is really the arms and legs. So I caught up with Dr. Yan Chao, who has been working in this area, and he provided this information. What I think is so remarkable, and this helps all of us on the patient side as well as practitioners, is being able to again get this massive efficiency savings. So a medical summary that normally would take 16 minutes can be done in 5 minutes with the 70% savings. And the reason is, I'm just going to point out, you've got the requester over on the left-hand side and then the physician over here on the right. When the physician is putting together a summary, they've got to pull from so many different places. It could be hospital, it could be reports, consultation, handwritten notes, family history, genetics reports. And so they're trying to, as a human, assimilate all this together. And then on the other side too, they've got to put this into various different formats. Sometimes it's going off for a claim. Sometimes it's to document within a medical record. It could be referring to a specialist. And so the amount of time that takes, and you multiply that by the number of cases, it's just staggering. So this is really just to show how, the combination of RPA plus API plus AI is able to really create something a lot faster for the physician to review. Again, it's called Copilot, Automation Copilot, because of, you've still got the practitioner involved and the doctor involved in this. But it's another practical use case here. If I'm thinking about startups and what's your opportunity, again, companies like this can only take it so far. What can you do then to then bridge this, to then make this more specific? Let's say working with physicians out there to now map this to their system, leveraging some of these technologies and some of these solutions.
Mm. And actually, Heidi, right here. So I will still will hold you up a little bit here on this case. I thought, to keep this question, there is a question in our chat. I will, was keeping it until the end, but looks like it's a good time right now. It's from Keith Bradley, and I will just read it. There is a problem of documentation to meet compliance/regulation. One click to write the chart quickly versus honest documentation of each element's nuances, which takes a lot of time and puts practitioner at risk for failing at compliance/regulation. How do we avoid AI making homogenized charts that are actually inaccurate, making liars of us all in the demand for efficiency? So it's a good question. Basically, in general, yes, we know that AI is following a certain pattern when doing the summary and writing the charts and all of this stuff. And this is exactly the case that you are showing up here. So how do we keep the right balance between properly describing the case and
Yeah.
automating the process?
Yeah, and that actually comes up in the problems and challenges. I mean, just really looking at that, it's, we want to have explainable AI. So I know there's this whole black box concept about, can we get back to, the core data and the core sources? And that's going to be part of governance models. That's going to be part of AI maturity, is being able to go back to source. And that's partly what these LLMs are doing, is being trained to the user will have control, or the organizations have control over what goes into that. And that can be one of the parameters that's actually specified. So, I mean, it's a really great point. You don't want to just have generic charts and not really know what's behind that and what are the sources, let alone have it being inaccurate. But this really comes back to that point I made earlier on medical writing is validation along the way. And that's where there does need to be human intervention. We can't just turn this over to AI. And so, and that's the idea with this governance model and with different levels of maturity is opening up more once it's been validated, once we're clear on source, once there's traceability. These are major areas and challenges to overcome. But yeah, it's well said, Keith, in terms of needing to have that traceability, needing to understand where it came from, having some human oversight, and then training the models. Those are some key ways to be able to get that traceability. That's one of the areas I've listed here in terms of challenges. Risk and liabilities related to that. Data privacy, but also on the lower left is one of the most critical, the data quality and standardization. That's where you're going to see more on the regulatory too about, especially for FDA, like what's traceable, where did this come from, the accuracy of that data. That's also in the middle there, the explainable AI, black box effect, and the trust, right? I mean, that's like number one is, do we trust the data? Is it ethical? Is it biased? And so, I look at it as iterative and in steps. And that's why I'm so much making the point about, what's real today, building on that, not trying to, get to these big numbers right away, but instead, making sure that we trust it, we're building on it, we're testing it. And that's why you're seeing so many LLMs and generative AI models specific within healthcare. So it's got the right inputs going in.
Yeah, that's a good slide. So, and in general, I would say there is a lot of information we hear from all the sides. There is a lot of noise around about what AI can do and how it can be helpful. What are the potentials? There is, I would say, from the overall noise about AI, maybe only 5 to 10% about all the risks and problems involved. So, but we know there are a lot of them, and that's actually good, Heidi, that you have put together this slide. And I would love maybe sometimes in the future, maybe later on, we'll think about doing a webinar only about the problems and the risks, because this is definitely
It's huge.
underestimated and underseen area. Not many people are talking about it. Everyone is talking about it, what's possible, but nobody's talking, or very few are talking about what are the risks and problems with it. And each and every of those boxes, it's a problem. It's a big problem on its own. And like we had last webinar that we had actually was around the issues around regulations in AI. We went through lots of questions and actually stayed overtime. People were coming in asking questions because it's definitely a hot area, especially for the entrepreneurs, for startups. Everyone, you are putting out this model, but now you have to think about what does it actually mean, what are your responsibilities, what can happen. And with many of those models right now with ChatGPT, for example, it is actually banned by many of the corporations because of the security, because of the potentials of the leaks. So the problem is not fully overcome. So ChatGPT is coming up with their enterprise level service. So there are tons of questions around this. And in healthcare, it's even bigger than in any of other areas. And I think this is definitely like a completely separate beast that needs to be discussed about all the problems and how to overcome them. So I don't know. We probably 1 minute before the end of the webinar, we don't want to get started on this one.
That's exactly it. It wasn't, the idea was just to show and acknowledge that, there are challenges, but I mean, so many people on this call are entrepreneurs themselves or developers and can see this as an opportunity. for every problem, there's an opportunity to be part of that solution and to help overcome. I mean, I'm just reading what Keith's written, and I love these points about testing and, looking at what's
Mm-hmm.
actually necessary. And I think of the testing as in phases, right? So learning a little bit, being confident at that stage, then going to the next stage. So it's really an iterative process. And I think using those types of models will achieve great benefits. So there's just, I just had one point left, and then we can go to the Q&A,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, certainly don't have a crystal ball. I think we're all in this together to look at what's ahead. But some of the drivers on what's ahead, further adoption. So a lot of companies are testing out right now. They're setting up centers of excellence. They're making investments. They're maybe dabbling a little, but they're forming their maturity models, policies, looking at what their own governance models, right? So these are some ways to really help drive it forward and create that momentum. Strategic investments being made, I know that's near and dear to everyone's heart here, as far as where will those investments, and it's really putting forward some ideas on, okay, we saw a whole list of problem statements, what are some ways to overcome that? And trust being at the top of that list. But it also opens up the opportunity for partnerships, and especially cross industry. I mean, that's a huge opportunity for innovation, is when you have cross industry collaboration. So those are my thoughts, just in terms
Mm-hmm.
of some big topics here, but sharing some of my experience and thoughts. And I know there's a few questions coming up, but I just wanted to leave it there.
Actually, I don't see any specific questions, but you know what? Anyways, uh, first, Heidi, thank you very much for the presentation. It's I think it's very helpful. We have generated also some of the thoughts and ideas as we went through this. I hope it was helpful to our viewers. What I want to say, like anyone, if you from anyone who's online, if you have any questions, please start putting them now in the chat. So we'll take another few minutes to try and answer or discuss some of the topics. All right. So, but while you're typing in your questions, I know that Heidi, you are, and as we mentioned in the beginning, you have your own business, from what I understand, and you are in this. Part of work that you do is actually helping health tech companies and health tech products find their fit in the market, and actually trying and getting them, helping them to develop whatever needed plans, marketing plans and features in order for them to be recognized and to have a success on the market. If you and I think for some of our viewers is going to be helpful, maybe some of them will want to use your services. If you can just spend, I don't know, just 1 minute on this one, would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm there with all of you, just in terms of development, thinking of innovation, new ideas. So this is a little bit about me. I really wanted to just provide pure ideas and thoughts and inspiration throughout. But what I do, I'm in marketing consulting and business advisory. So as Andre said, I really specialize in B2B and also health tech. So helping companies transform, scale, grow profitably to reach goals. So yeah, a couple of areas that we could connect on, looking at marketing strategy, your go-to-market planning, or, trying to reach certain audiences. The KPIs and metrics, I've done a lot, and that's really a key point of, dashboards and getting the right measures, getting the right results, not only for you, but for your clients, and setting that up. And then coaching. So I do a lot of business coaching, leadership coaching teams. And a lot of it is really helping get the right processes in place and helping operationalize, so that it frees people up to be more strategic in any role. So that's a little bit about me, and maybe some ways we could work together in the future.
Yep, thanks. And everyone, please connect with Heidi on LinkedIn. I believe your contact must be on our LinkedIn event page, and it's also going to be in the emails that we'll send in the follow-up. But while we're talking, actually, I have one question from. We'll take probably a couple more minutes here from Manish Gupta. How AI can help in drug discovery use cases to expedite, uncover, yes, a new alternates for existing drugs. Do you want to comment on this, Heidi?
Sure. So first of all, it's again about the data sources coming in. So whereas before, all of that was done, quite manually and experts in the field doing research. So it's another area where the hypothesis can be tested a lot faster, working with the molecules, working with proteins, just really understanding what's coming in sooner. It also means that companies can, let's say, stop a program or dismiss something sooner than later. They don't have to get as far along in the process, which saves money as well. So I'd say it's really that collection of data that before was done, manually, and maybe didn't have access to as much before. So it's able to speed that up, and then also doing testing a lot earlier because of that, informing hypothesis a lot sooner. It's one of the big game changer areas, and there's companies already working in that space.
All right. I hope that was the.
I just looking at the chat. I love this quote that Murat put forward. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn, by Alvin Toffler. So I think that's really a well said. We're all needed in this space, but it's new skill sets, and we've got to really look at a new way of doing things, working together with the technology.
Definitely. And Murat is actually one of our speakers for next event. And so let's actually close over here with this one. Heidi, thank you once again. And I just want to say that yes, I just mentioned we're going to have one more event in just a week from now, and it's going to be a much broader event. I just want to announce everyone who is in SaaS. You guys are invited on January 24th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. EST. We're going to have a full day event. We're going to have, I believe, 8 different speakers, and it's on the topic. It's going to be a virtual summit, boosting SaaS products with new technologies in 2024. And it's going to be centered around all new technologies, as you have guessed from the topic: big data, data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. So we are gathering speakers on all of those topics, so that our audience can hear new ideas and possibilities for applying of those technologies in their SaaS products. All right, so come over, stay with us. We are constantly making efforts to bring in new information and new events to you. And what else? To conclude, as I mentioned, this event is being recorded, and the recording is going to be available to all the registered participants. Wait for the email within the next couple of days, and you will be able to rewatch and listen, view whatever you have missed. Okay, and once again, in a week, another virtual summit. So come over and listen, view, and stay with us. All right, and we'll announce the following event, the following webinar on AI series, probably right after our virtual summit. It's going to be in a week. Okay, so Heidi, once again, thank you very much. Sorry to everyone, we stayed a little bit over time, but I hope it was worth it. Thanks for the audience for being active, and I wish everyone great time, great week, and all the best. All right, thanks everyone.
Everyone.
Bye bye.